Okay, so I'm sitting here with my buddy Max. Max just got his hair cut. He feels great, helping him survive this heat. So we talked about the author of the book of Revelation. We said that he was one of the 500 eyewitnesses of Jesus' earthly ministry, what the church is called the Apostolic Witness. John lived in a community in Asia Minor, and he and two other Johns shared pastoral responsibility. So what was the occasion for John writing the book of Revelation? Well, we know that John was in his 90s, that he was a spiritual powerhouse. By that, we don't mean he was glamorous or glitzy or anything like that. Church history tells us he was a man of deep prayer. He was a gentle man, a quiet man, but he had such a spiritual impact on the local community that he was becoming a nuisance for the pagan government. And they knew better than to murder a 90-year-old. That would have made a martyr of him. So instead, they placed him in exile on an island called Patmos. And John is now separated from his beloved community by a big, large stretch of seawater. And this is probably why John says that in the new earth there will be no sea. It's not that God isn't going to resurrect marine life. What it means instead is, well, two things. Right now the sea was separating John from his beloved community, and for the Jewish people, who were not an ocean-going people, it was a symbol of the source of chaos and evil. And so John is saying that in the resurrection, in the new earth, there is going to be nothing that's going to separate the beloved community, and the source of evil and chaos itself will be gone. Okay, so what was the occasion? So John's in exile, but on the Lord's Day, which by the end of the first century, many Christians are now worshiping on Sunday instead of the Sabbath, which was Saturday. And John says he was in the Spirit on the Lord's Day. He was on the Spirit in the Lord's Day when he was given this revelation by Jesus. And here's a couple things. By being in the Spirit, John was in prayer. He was worshiping, though he was physically separated from the beloved community. He was worshiping. He was connected with them in spirit. And being in worship, being in the Spirit of God, he was receptive to what Jesus was about to show him. And here's what I want to say to us. The importance for us is that a lot of us say that we don't hear from God very often. We don't experience His guidance, His presence. And the question I want to ask is, how much time do we spend in the Spirit? In prayer, in intense worship? Because that sets the context for us hearing from God. For this video, I have purposely been unpacking the material from two books. Marvedon's great book on Revelation, which is Strength and Weakness, and Elizabeth Fiorenza, who was a great feminist scholar and a great liberationist scholar. She had a simple book called The Apocalypse, and both of these ladies unpack both the power of prayer, the importance of the beloved community, God speaking to us in weakness and in vulnerability. And both these books are very, very, very worthwhile and help us to understand the context and the occasion for John writing this book to us. He was separated from his beloved community by evil and suffering, but nonetheless he was connected to them in spirit. In the Spirit on the Lord's Day, he was receptive to hear from Jesus. Now, I'm not saying that being in the Spirit, we will get a canonical book revealed to us, but it will help us to be connected to the beloved community and to the God who unites us. I'm Eddie Bromley. Stay tuned for another part.